what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-woo!
Happy hump day, everybody. Andrew Moon, Orange Nomad, coming to you from a beautiful, sunny, yes, it's technically the end of summer here in the States with Labor Day coming this past Monday. But it's a sunny day. It's a nice day. It is hump day. Yes, it is. And this is our Wednesday afternoon business therapy session. Welcome to the show. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you happen to be watching this on the replay, thank you. And let me know where you're tuning in from as well. I'm always appreciative of those who tune in every single week. We're going to get back into our regular streaming pattern. We've taken a few weeks off over the summer, been kind of sporadic with the show. But we want to get back in the saddle, get this content out, and be able to help as many people as we can. That is the whole intent of this show. This is the Do What Is Necessary live stream. This is a labor of love that started on April Fool's Day of 2020, just as the pandemic started to kick off. And Wednesday afternoon therapy for me was certainly well needed. And unfortunately, this pandemic still continues to rage on. So I'm going to keep producing this show on Wednesdays as a means of business therapy to keep my sanity, to help you as an entrepreneur, to help you as a business owner, to help all of you who might need help and just a little bit of place to go for some uplifting education or edutainment, if you will, because I try to be entertaining with this show, but I'm always appreciative of those of you who tune in every single week. Thank you. So let me know if you're catching this show for the first time, and also let me know if you're a repeat guest. Say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and let me know you can hear me, obviously, that everything is coming across loud and clear. I'm going to double check the stream over on LinkedIn just to make sure that we are broadcasting, because we did have some issues back in August getting our live stream broadcasting to LinkedIn. Looks like it continues to make it over to YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, say hi. I'm always appreciative of those who tune in over on YouTube as well. So like I said, let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hi in the comments. I noticed that LinkedIn's rolling out some new features. So things are maybe in a little bit different place this week over on LinkedIn, which is kind of cool. They've got a tab now for live streams for you to be able to comment. And there's also a tab to network. So those of you who are attending this live can network with other people who happen to check the show out, which I think is pretty cool. And if you noticed, too, that one of the things they changed on LinkedIn Live this week is they enabled the ability to... it looks like they're melding the events with the live stream finally, which is great. But you can actually, when you click remind me or that you're attending these live streams, you'll now get a calendar reminder. That's one of the things folks have been asking me for. I wish LinkedIn has had this for a while, but unfortunately they haven't. Shame on you, LinkedIn. But anyway, if you're watching, let me know in the comments, again, where you're tuning in from. So we want to welcome back John Brennan, doing well. So we hope you are doing excellent and that everything is super fine where you're at. I believe you're over in the UK. We've got a strong UK following, which is awesome. I know it's 3 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States, and I know it's like evening time for most of you folks in the UK. So if you're tuning in from the UK, please say hi in the comments. So John obviously is a repeat viewer of the show, so welcome back, John. We're appreciative of all of you awesome fans across the globe who support this show. So if this is your first time checking me out, you have absolutely no idea who I am. My name is Andrew Moon. I run a company called Orange Nomad. I turn hustling entrepreneurs into calm, unstoppable CEOs. I spent 30 plus years in the tech industry. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 8 years old. And yes, that is no lie. 8 years old, I've been an entrepreneur. So I have had a few wounds, licked a few wounds, crashed and burned many times in business, learned a lot. And that's really why I started this show, is to be a sounding board, to be a place where those of you who are running businesses especially can come hang out and tell everybody what your story is. So John's tuning in from Ireland. We appreciate it again, John. I love the green shirt. I hope, again, everything is well for you. I know COVID's just all kinds of crazy all over the world still. Nothing kind of makes sense anymore. So anyway, so I'll give a few minutes before we jump into talk about sales today. I get a lot of people ask me about our behind the scenes setup. So I've set up a couple new camera settings, a couple new shots. This is our broadcast studio, and I am a one-man production team. I've been running this live stream. I absolutely love live streaming. It's really no different than a webinar, but it's just the fact it's live. And but I love the folks who tune in every single week. So yeah, if you have any questions on the setup, please let me know. But yeah, super simple setup, overhead shot, and I'll zoom in so you can see the behind the scenes shot. But if you have questions on live streaming, I'm happy to answer those every week when folks tune in to the show. So, all right, let's get what you came for, and let's talk about our ongoing, especially my toxic relationship with selling. And like I said, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 8. So I've got some history with being an entrepreneur. Obviously, you have to sell, and a certain part of that. I'm an introvert by nature, and I absolutely hate the sales process. I hate selling. Let's get this started off with a conversation. What do you hate the most about selling? What do you hate the most about sales tactics in general? Put those in the comments. Just again, let's get this conversation started and start some dialogue. I know I'm not the only one that has a toxic relationship with selling and the sales process. So, as I mentioned, this is Wednesday afternoon therapy. So, for me, this is going to be about sharing my experiences of what I've learned, what I see in the sales process, especially the difficulty of quote unquote selling our services. But my foray into sales started at 18 years old. I was a car guy to start. I've been around cars for a long time. So, my first sales job actually was in a car dealership. And it was funny because I went to the car dealership to get his auto detailing business, to do any overflow I ran a detail shop to get, any of the overflow used cars. So I went there actually selling my services, and the owner was so impressed with what I did, he offered me a job. And hey, it's a chance to be around cars all day, to get to drive some cool cars. I was 18. But I can't I can't always pretend like I've always liked sales. It was cool being around cars all day. But how many of you have ever had a bad experience with a car dealership? And it's like that is probably the worst industry for me to cut my teeth in sales. I learned a lot of bad things about the sales process, and like it was so unnerving to see the behind the scenes of how people sell and closing techniques and learning all that at 18. So I was pretty jaded from an early age, and I was scarred by what I saw in that industry. And I spent a lot of time in the car industry because I loved it. Like I said, I loved cars, but I hated the whole process. I still do. It's a very swarmy, relentless. When you mention that you used to sell cars, like it's automatically people get that icky look on their face, but it's just a weird industry. But I'm not here to to really berate the car automobile industry, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, I wish that part would change because I hate the way business is done. I hate the way that commissions run. And anyway, I could spend a whole episode talking to you about like the car business, but it left me scarred. It left me scarred because I knew that there was a better way. I didn't like having to memorize sales tactics. And if they say this, then you do that. And as soon as somebody gets on the lot, you pounce on them, because as humans, we're not built like that. I hated that part of the process. And I could tell that when people hate that pounce, and they know when all you're trying to do is get to their wallet. But I think that whole thing about that sales process is really, like I said, it's left me scarred and looking for a better way, because I know that there's a better way to do sales. And I know that, as an entrepreneur, that's part of what we do. If you happen to love sales, if you're, like I said, put that in the comments too, because I've run across some folks who absolutely love sales and who do it very well and who do it in a very upboard, um, you know, ethical way of doing sales. But like I said, this is kind of a therapy session, to walk us all through some of the mindset things that we have with sales and where we get hung up. But a lot of our sales experience has to come, it really comes from bad experiences. And we often, how many of you have seen the movie Tommy Boy? But this is really what it feels like when I think about sales and I think about selling.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
And it's, there's so many lessons. Hopefully we don't get knocked off the air for playing that clip. But that's the lesson, from Tommy Boy. When you think about, that process of how he goes through that evolution of trying to, sell because his father died and he's trying to save the company business. But it was a learning experience for him to go through that. So there's so many sales lessons in that movie. But, if that's one of my all-time favorites. So if you like Tommy Boy, put that in the comments. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. I know I'm not the only one. I absolutely love that movie. But, there was a phrase in the movie, too, where he said he can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. And when people use expressions like that, it's really not a compliment. And when you think about that, there's the professional salespeople that can talk or manipulate somebody into buying something that they don't need, or worse yet, it's just they're selling something for a commission. There's just no professionalism and integrity with that. So that for me is like a hang up that I have in the sales process where, I don't want to be labeled as a professional salesperson. I don't want to be known as being an awesome salesperson just because I have that mentality, that mindset that I don't want to be that. I don't want to feel like I'm manipulating people. So that's one of the beliefs that I had for a long time, and it held me up a long time in business. When I had that belief that I feel like if I'm selling something that I'm actually manipulating somebody. But if you've felt like that or you feel like that right now, share that in the comments, please. This is our therapy together. But if you're watching this on the replay, again, put that in the comments. Let me know. Let's do therapy together. The second bad belief that I had was, like, I learned this in the car business is, you don't let anybody leave. So this is the other phrase that I took from the movie. You don't take no for an answer. I know he says other things. Anyway, we'll keep it G-rated. But that was a misconception that I had about sales, is that you can't take no for an answer. That, we see that now that, there's 18. I saw that yesterday. There was an article that says you need 18 touches for somebody to reach out, or that before they actually realize what it is you actually offer. I've heard all the way up to like 27 or 28 touches. So, and I've done it. I've participated in that process where you just, okay, if there's 18 touches or 27, whatever that number is, that we're just going to hound somebody. We're going to hound people on the phone. We're going to hound people on LinkedIn. We're going to hound people on email. We're going to drop in person when we can again. But it's basically, that outright begging and that hounding process that I don't like. And it just is not ethical to me. And, harassing somebody in talking somebody into a business transaction, like, was a huge hang up I had for a long time, where I didn't, where you're pushing somebody into saying yes. But if you're actually selling something that somebody actually needs, like, that process doesn't, like, that part of the process doesn't need to be there. But for me, like I said, that stopped me a lot from business, because I would do that. I would hound people, and then they would ghost you, and then you would just keep hounding them. But it was a super waste of time, and I hated it. But if you've been sales trained that way, let me know in the comments. So, welcome, Sam James. Again, our UK contingent is alive and well. So thank you, Sam, for tuning in. Let me know, Sam, too, if this is the first time that you've caught the show. I always like to, welcome our first-time viewers. But we're right in the middle of this therapy session, just talking about some of our limiting beliefs when it comes to sales and the selling process. And like I said, if you're just joining us, put in the comments what you hate personally about the sales process, or what do you specifically hate when salespeople do certain things. My third limiting belief, for me, is, like I said at the top of the show, I'm an introvert. So, and I'm an INFJ introvert. Like, that's like super, super rare. But I always had this concept that I could not be successful in sales because I'm not an extrovert. And unfortunately, like, we have that in our mind that you have, in order to be an extrovert, that's a big, loud talkers who, extroverts make better salespeople. But I've actually found a study that of over 4,000 salespeople. I'm going to read this to you. In a study of more than 4,000 salespeople, researchers found that the relationship between so-called extroverts and sales performance was practically zero. And there are advantages to both introverts and extroverts, and that the most successful salespeople fall somewhere in between. They're actually called ambiverts. And then there was a different study that actually correlated that to what people get paid. In another study, research found that introverted salespeople earned an average of $120 an hour, extroverts $125 an hour, and ambiverts cleaned up $208 an hour. So I wish I would have had that research and known that a long time ago, because I think that has held me back with businesses. It's held me back in parts of my journey where I felt like I really couldn't be a good salesperson. Like, I wasn't living to my full potential because I thought I had to be an extrovert. Any other introverts out there, please put that in the comments and share that with everybody. So anything that you have that I missed? Those were my top 3 limiting beliefs that really, I think, hindered and kind of left me pigeonholed into a certain extent of success because I held on to those beliefs. So if you have something that you have as a limiting belief, or your belief system around sales and selling, put that in the comments for me. I just want to have this as a discussion as well. Sam said, I think for me, it's a mixture of fear of rejection and overthinking the technical side of things, trying to make the perfect package. I'm with you. And I suffer from a lot of that. And I notice that a lot of the folks that we coach have that same fear, that a lot of times just the fear of certain things hold us back. So thanks for sharing that, Sam. Because I'm actually going to get to that. That's a point. This is going to be the other part of our therapy. I'm going to share things that I've learned. I'm going to share things that I've learned in helping coach other IT providers over the last 7 years since I sold my MSP. But I'm going to also share, just, again, other research, talking to thousands of MSPs. That is a very common thing. I haven't talked to a single MSP yet who tells me that they absolutely love the sales process and that they love selling. And that is a big fear that we all have, that we tend to be analytical. Us introverts, us technical folks tend to be super analytical, and that tends to get in our way. So I'm going to talk about some strategies that have helped me and some of the strategies that we've helped our clients implement in our coaching. We're going to give away some of the tips for free on this show today. That's what this whole show is going to be about. So again, like I said, this is Wednesday afternoon therapy. This is therapy session. So here's some tips that I've had in making selling a little less painful. And let me know if I leave anything out, but thanks again for sharing, James. If you're watching this, just tuning in, say hi in the comments and let me know. So the very first one for me, the mindset change started to occur the last few years that I had my MSP. And my belief system started to change because of what I was putting into my mind and the people I was hanging around with. because for a large portion of my IT career, especially running my MSP, I went to groups and was part of groups that were into that high pressure sales and being in people's face and not taking no for an answer and all that junk. It just didn't feel right. But when I started to believe and started hanging around with people who helped me to believe that I'm not there to sell anything, that when people come to us and engage our company to provide IT services, that we really don't have to sell anything. Because typically when people come to you, they have a problem. So when I started to approach it with the mindset that I'm there to solve a problem, that changed. And, that was super helpful to approach it from that mindset, that I'm not a product pusher. I'm not there to sell anything. I'm there as a lifesaver for the most part. And I'm there to help. I'm there to help protect people's businesses. If you have that mindset, or, if you believe that mindset, again, share that in the comments. Because, and like I said, I used to say that all the time. I hate selling. And I still hear it all the time. I hate selling, but I love solving. So that for me was the first tip. Start with a different mindset and start with it that we're not selling anything. We're solving problems. The second thing I want to share, and this made it selling, quote unquote, selling and getting leads and all of that so much more complicated for me. And I made it complicated for myself because I wasn't actually looking for the right person. Back to my earlier analogy, if you're selling ketchup popsicles to a woman in white gloves, like most of the times they're not on your prospect list. And that we're looking for the wrong people and that we're attracting the wrong people because we're not looking for the right buyer. We're not attracting the right buyer. And we feel like we have to sell stuff. We feel like we have to push things on people. And that's really when I started to change and I started to pick niches or vertical markets, whatever you want to call that. That helped me to really start to attract the people that I knew that I could solve problems for. And that actually made the quote unquote sales process much easier because I was working with somebody that I knew that I could help. And I was very comfortable knowing that I could provide help, that I could actually solve very specific problems. So the industries we focus on were property management and attorneys, and we got very good at solving those problems. And sure enough, what we attracted was other property management companies and other attorneys because we were attracting the right buyer. We knew who our buyer was, and we knew that we could help them. So there was no selling. There was no pushing people or convincing people that they should buy my product or they should sign up for our IT services. So Sam also shared, I had a string of bad fits, which makes you question your pricing, which could really set you back until you realize either they were never ready to buy, budget, appreciation, etc. Exactly. And again, we're going to talk a lot about that in a couple minutes, Sam. But that's where we got hung up on. We're looking for 3 C's. We're looking for someone who's clear, has clarity that they need to make a change, that what is working, what they've been trying isn't working. So we need somebody to be clear that they need to make a change. The second thing we're looking for is the commitment, that they're actually committed to making a change. And then the third part is we want them to have the confidence to make that change. And when we started looking for the right buyer and attracting the right buyer, to your question, Sam, that really kind of hones in on that. The last part of here is they weren't ready to buy. So it just may be timing. They were lacking one of those 3 things. They were lacking clarity, commitment, or just it may not have had the confidence to move forward. So let's talk about that. Too, is what helps us in that process. What helps make the sales process a little bit easier. Like I said, I switched partway through my IT career running my last MSP that I was part of groups and part of groups that really push that high pressure sales stuff. And when I actually started and found a guide, somebody who could walk me through a better way to do things, like that made it so much easier. That generating leads, sales prospecting, the things that I really wasn't good at actually became easier because somebody helped me see the way. Somebody helped me walk through that process, and made it life easier. So if you have a good guide right now, somebody who's helping you walk through that process, Sam, let me know too. If you have somebody that's helped you walk through the process, somebody that you can bounce those ideas off to see what's working, what's not working. But having somebody who can show me the way was super helpful. And that actually changed. Like I said, going back to that mindset, they helped me with mindset. They helped me to realize that it was a different way of selling and there really wasn't any selling. And that was an amazing thing that happened towards the end, that when we went through the quote unquote sales process, that we didn't actually have to sell anything. That we just asked people, our close, if you will, was, do you want our help? I was amazed at how well that worked. But having somebody who can show you that process was super, super helpful to me. All right, we're going to change it up. If you're watching the show live, you'll know that part of what we do when we do live, occasionally we'll give some stuff away. But I want to do that, take a break too, to those of you tuning in live. If you're watching this on the replay, I'm sorry. This is only available to folks who watch live. So if you would like a free t-shirt, a free Team Orange t-shirt, put in the comments below, put free t-shirt in the comments. And then first person that actually puts free t-shirt in the comments will win themselves a nice Team Orange t-shirt in my favorite colors, black and orange. But yeah, that's one of the things I like to do with this live stream is to make it fun, to give some stuff away, to reward those who tune in live and catch the show. So if you're watching this on the replay, definitely want to check us out live, because you might win yourself some free stuff. All right, let's move on to my next one. And again, we're gonna talk a few things about this. So awesome. So congratulations, Sam. Sweet job. He scores himself a free Team Orange t-shirt. So Sam, after the show's over, if you want to DM me your mailing address, our team will go ahead and ship that straight out to you pronto, so that we can sport some Team Orange swag. And you'll have to share that when on here on LinkedIn or social media when you get your t-shirt too. So, all right, let's talk about the next thing. Obviously, is that when you have a good product and a good service, that selling is easy. When you're confident that you're delivering a top-notch solution, when you're confident that what you deliver is actually a solution and solves problems, selling is much easier. Because if you don't really believe in what you have to offer, that's going to come through. People are going to see through that if you're really unsure of yourself. And I was for a long time, because I messed around with the tools and like, okay, let's go try this new PSA tool. And okay, let's go look at this slick RMM tool. So I spent too much time trying to play around with the tools instead of building a great solution. When I finally stopped doing that, and we built a great solution built on just an awesome customer support experience, that's when things changed. That I wasn't having to choke people into buying a service that I didn't firmly believe in. So that was part of, again, that mindset shift where we look at our service, we look at the product that we offer. And so if you're not comfortable and you're not feel 100% about the service you offer, like that helps the process. You got to get dialed in and make sure that you're offering a killer service and that you're actually delivering results. And I think that's key. When we started delivering a very specific result and could promise that and then back that up, like that's became unstoppable. We didn't have to sell anything to anybody. It was just, do you want our help delivering that solution for your company? Do you want our help delivering those type of results? Now, one of the things that, like I said, because we IT folks are not true salespeople, one of the things that we tend to do, and I was so guilty of this for so long, that when we get into sales situations, that we just start puking information at people, and especially the technical stuff. When we get into a sales conversation and people say, okay, they have this problem with X, and you're like, you automatically think to yourself, okay, this firewall would solve that. So you puke that out. Somebody says, okay, I have this problem, and okay, well, this piece of software will fix that. And we just puke that out. And when I stopped and realized that I need to stop doing that and actually spend more time listening, that dramatically changed the sales process. And one of the mentors I had at the time really changed how I viewed the sales process. He told me that, he said, okay, when you go in, this is exactly what I teach my clients, that when you go into a sales situation where you're doing initial discovery calls, things like that you're going to listen more than you talk. But he told me to instead of putting on a sales hat, which was weird because when I put on a sales hat, it was like I thought I had to be somebody completely different. But when he said, go into it with the mindset of being an investigative reporter, that all you're there to do is collect information and listen. That changed everything. That changed completely how I viewed sales. And when every engagement I went into and I listened more and I asked good questions, and instead of trying to solve all of people's problems in those initial discovery calls, that I just listened, that I was able to customize and tailor solutions to the customers themselves. So if you have a tough time with sales and you feel like when you go into a sales situation, you got to put a sales hat on, and if that's weirds you out, let me know in the comments. I know I cannot be the only one who gets weirded out by that. We still coach MSPs. And just a few weeks ago, one of my coaching clients came to me, said, we have an opportunity to present a solution for somebody, and I want to be able to knock this out of the park. So we, over a couple coaching sessions, and including up to like the day before he had his initial meeting with them, but I taught him how to do this, that don't go into it with the mindset that you're there to sell anything, but go into it with the mindset of being an investigative reporter. The long and short of it is, inside of 2 or 3 meetings, all that happened in the same week, that he closed this deal, and it was his biggest deal yet, and had $100,000 in his bank account the day after he made the presentation, and actually closed them on the first proposal. But when I talked to him after the fact, we did the coaching call and we debriefed after he won that deal, he told me that's what it was. Like, that mindset shift, that difference of going into it with an investigative reporter changed everything. Because he didn't feel like he had to put on a sales hat, and that made him much more confident, that made him much more calm, and he was able to hear everything that the customer was saying. Instead of trying to prepare a close or prepare a reply, he just listened. And that was a big key, an eye-opening moment for him. And it was for me. But that can change everything, just that particular mindset shift. Now, the other thing, going back to, Sam, if you're still hanging out with us, that is one of the things that was my biggest fear, is I was afraid of rejection. And like, that was, I was so afraid of hearing no. And like, this is particular, I promise you it won't be as bad, but this is what I envisioned in my head every single time I went into a sales process.
All because you want to save a couple extra pennies. To me, it doesn't.
Get out. Now.
If that is how you have ever felt going into a sales situation, please share that in the comments. But that's what I had going on in my mind. That's how this presentation, how this discovery call, that's how this sales process was going to end up, with rejection and everything. I would go down in flames. I'd be humiliated, walk out of the room. But again, having the right person and being around the right people to help me see that, to not be afraid of rejection, and to not take it personally. They're not saying no to me. That it was one of those three things. It was one of the three C's. It was either that they weren't clear they needed to make a change, they weren't committed to do a change, or I didn't give them enough confidence that they could actually make the change. But when I stopped being afraid of the rejection, like it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. When I stopped envisioning the outcome looking like that I was going to go down in flames and somebody's going to tell me just to get out. But when I started also adopting the fact that no is actually a great thing in sales. That when you think about it, people are going to say no more often than they're going to say yes. It's just the law of averages. It's just, again, they may be lacking one of the three C's. It doesn't mean that some of those people that I met with initially that said no, some of them became clients later. It was just that they weren't committed enough to the change to make the change at the time, or they didn't have the confidence that making the switch was going to be right for them. But when that time came, they made the change, and it was because I wasn't afraid of being rejected. No's actually save you money. And let me give, for instance, that if somebody says no, you're not going to continue to follow up with them. You're not going to continue to hound them with emails and LinkedIn and just hammering them, trying to convince them to buy anything. That actually saves you time and money. And when somebody says yes, obviously that's great. But when people say no, that is great too. Because then you can move on. You can move on to the people that just maybe need a little bit more confidence in making a decision. And you don't need to convince them. They just need a little bit more confidence that they need to make a change. The maybes in business are the ones that cost you money because you're following up when maybe they're on the fence or they're not quite committed to making a change. But when I stopped being afraid of being rejected and I stopped being afraid of hearing no, like that just cleared up everything. That made everything so much better. If any of that's helped you, Sam, since you brought that up and you're tuning in live, if that helps you not be afraid of rejection, or if there's other things that maybe have helped you in the past not be afraid of rejection, please share them, because I know that that's one of our biggest fears as entrepreneurs. That's one of our biggest fears as MSPs. We're afraid of being told no, but we need to embrace it. We need to embrace hearing the word no, because that's actually a good thing in business. So if you're tuning in live, you're watching this on the replay, what was your number one takeaway from this particular show? Again, I went kind of long on a few things. Hopefully, this has given you some clarity. Hopefully, it's helped you maybe sort out some things in your sales process or in our thinking or in our mindset. But what was the number one thing that you would say either you have to work on, or what was your number one takeaway or enlightenment out of our therapy session for today? Please share that in the comments. So, Sam, I'm glad that helped you. I'm glad that you found that helpful. But yeah, we just, it's tough to hear no, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, again, having people that can help you along the way and having a good guide is super, super important and helpful. All right, Sam's big takeaway was it's best to get to know and gain intelligence from it than to string it along and fizzle out. Yes, excellent. That's what we're looking for. Because if we spend time trying to twist people's arm and convince them that they need to buy our stuff, like I've never found it to be a great relationship, and assuming they even say yes. But the last thing we want to do is burn through a lead and make somebody absolutely never want to do business with us because we push them and we're trying to convince them that they need to buy our stuff. So thanks for sharing that, Sam. So if you're looking for help, if you're stuck in this process, if you're stuck and you need some help, or, I want to be able to help people get through this process and to share things that I've learned, over the years from testing things myself, my own trial and error, my own scrapes, bumps, and bruises. That's what I'm all about. But if you're interested in help, I wanted to let you know that, some of you may have seen this. This was actually, this is the MSP growth map. So basically what I've done is I've mapped out an entire sales process. Let me go back to the wrong screen here. I've actually mapped out the entire process of how to do stress-free selling as an MSP or any business. This framework will work inside of any business. But I've probably have 400 plus hours now in this, and we've actually, trained our first batch of MSPs, which ended last Friday, over 4 intensive weeks of walking them through a process of how to do lead generation, how to do sales, how to do it ethically, and how to do it in such a way where you don't feel slimy at the end of it, where we're not actually selling anything. But it was helpful. It would have been helpful to me. I would have loved to have had this map when I ran my MSP, because this would have saved me so much time. But the best part is we're actually going to do another class. I have another 4-week intensive class starting October 1st, and this is completely live. And we did this live this past 4 weeks through August and the first part of September, and just rave reviews of how much better of a process. 2 of the people that went through it that have been in the IT industry for 10 and 20 years both told me this is the best thing that they've come across in the IT space since they've gotten in. And it helped them get so much clarity and so much confidence in what they're doing because they actually have a process. They actually have a roadmap to follow. And we're going to be doing this live, like I said, again, starting October 1st. And what I'm going to do is just walk you through what the roadmap is, what we're going to cover. And again, this isn't going to be, some bloated sales pitch, but I just want to be able to help people through the mistakes that I made, so that people don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. And I know I'm a super nerd. Yes, I have checklists, and you're going to find, like I said, I'm super nerdy when it comes to checklists. So we actually have a 4-week checklist of exactly what we're going to do each and every week. And I'm going to walk through briefly just what we're going to cover. Week number 1, we're going to cover, again, finding the right person, attracting the right customer, knowing how to look for them, knowing where to look for them, then developing a currency, a specific measurable result that your solution is going to provide and helps them achieve. And then we're actually going to craft that into a message where we have a powerful message that we use in all of our marketing. It becomes the center of all of the content that we put out, all videos, emails, webinars, everything that we do will be built around providing a solution. Week number 2, we're going to do a digital brain dump together, where we're actually, again, part of what we do on in these sessions. Just to be clear, these aren't you watch me do talk for an hour or 2, and then you got to figure out how to go do it. We actually have time broken down every single week where we have workshop time built into these sessions, where you will work on these things and actually implement them as we go along. And I will be there to answer questions during those calls, after those calls, in between weeks, whatever, because I'm all about helping people get things implemented, helping people do what is necessary. Week number 3, I made a huge mistake and started trying to put out content, and I wondered why it never resonated with people because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm actually going to show you how to put together content and lead magnets for capturing leads into a very specific system. And I'm going to show you the exact framework we use, so you will be 100% confident in creating your own lead magnet to start capturing leads from people that are actually interested in buying and people that are actually want to buy, your ideal customer. We're going to teach you how to attract them. And then we're going to wrap up in week 4. We're actually going to show you the stress-free selling process. We're going to give you a script to use, which is a roadmap to use for every single sales engagement you have, every discovery call. We're going to show you how to convert those strategy sessions, discovery calls, into paying clients. And then, like I said, it's okay if we get no. Some people may not, they may lack the confidence, commitment, or clarity. So I'm going to teach you exactly what to say and what follow-up system to put in place to eventually turn those customers or those prospects into customers. And again, I'm going to do this 100% live, where we're going to map out this exact process for your business. You're no longer going to have to guess how to do the sales process. We're going to implement a system and make a process that fits the way you work. We're going to calibrate this to your business. And the best part of all is you're not going to have just my attention and my help just for 4 weeks. That part of this sessions that we're running, you're going to have my attention, you're going to have my support for a minimum of 1 year. 1 year to walk you through this process, hone this into a deliverable process inside of your company. So if you're interested in joining us, all the details, everything that I just covered is available if you go to mspgrowthmap.com, and you can grab your seat. And I'm keeping these classes extremely small because, like I said, I am all about the customized, calibrated, specific teaching for you, and I'm all about the implementation. I could have easily turned this into a course, and you just go watch it, and whether you successfully complete it, whatever. I'm not about that. I'm about helping people actually get things done, to actually do what is necessary. So if you're interested in joining me, like I said, check out mspgrowthmap.com. All the details are on there. I would love to have you join this next class because, like I said, the ones that went through this first inaugural session are absolutely blown away by the results that they're getting and the confidence that they have of actually being able to put a system in place instead of guessing, instead of having the overwhelm that comes along with the sales process. This gives them 100% clarity. So if you still have questions, reach out to me. Like I said, this isn't a sales pitch, but I just want to be able to provide the help that people need. And like I said, I don't see it out there. I see a lot of stuff out there where people are pitching the same solutions, same marketing campaigns, same sales process. When I was running my MSP, I started in 2004. I actually still see marketing campaigns and quote unquote, this is the MSP sales process from 2008. That does not work anymore. This is 2021. I think there needs to be a new way that we present IT services because we have a much better seat at the table now than we've ever had. And those of you who are still around that have weathered the storm that we've had, I would love to be able to work with you to help you continue to scale and escalate your business. I'd love to play a small part in that. So again, I'll get off didn't want this to turn into a sales pitch because I don't do that on this show. I wanted to let people know there is a solution and that I'm here to help people not make all the mistakes that I made, in selling and the sales process and all that stuff that comes along with it. Thank you so much for hanging out. Sam, congratulations on winning your free t-shirt. Again, when this show ends in a minute or so, send me a direct message on LinkedIn and I'll make sure that we get your address in there and your t-shirt size so we get that sent out to you. So thanks for hanging out on this Wednesday afternoon therapy session. Like I said, we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. We've got the next 4 weeks planned out. I'm super excited about what we've got coming next. So definitely tune in 3 Eastern time every single Wednesday. Like I said, we hopefully keep this going for as long as needed with this crazy COVID situation and all the craziness in the world today. So, all right. That's going to wrap it up for me. As I've ended every single show since we started this thing, always stay humble and kind, and always, always, always do what is necessary. I hope to see you next week. Take care.